Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and folks, I'm here with this week's kind of quick hit, short version episode of Steel City Underground's cheat sheet. And boy, just updating you on some of the good information that myself and Brian E. Roach had just the other day in the pregame show. Go check that out if you'd like something a little more in depth. But to fill in some of the gaps, fill in some of the blanks, let's just jump right into Pittsburgh's injury report. And it is not a pretty one, especially when the Steelers are inviting Tampa Bay and Tom Brady to town at Acrisure Stadium this Sunday. So Deontay Johnson, it says unspecified, but mostly full practice. I anticipate seeing him out on the field since he was a full participant on Thursday and Friday. The big bad news here is the Steelers secondary is completely banged up. Cam Sutton, Ahkello Witherspoon, and Levi Wallace have all been ruled out. Josh Jackson, who we were just talking about, the Steelers picked up off the street, a former second-round pick with the Green Bay Packers, and just never really panned out. He's been getting a lot of PT the last couple of weeks, called up from the practice squad. He has been playing and acting as a cornerback one. Yikes, it's going to be some issues. Elijah Riley more than likely going to be called up for this game as well. We're still going to find out. Looks good for Terrell Edmunds to get back on the field and out of concussion protocol. And as you know, everything that happened with Tua Tagovailoa just recently has made it maybe even more difficult for teams to rush someone back on the field out of that concussion protocol. So now they're going to be not even the kid gloves, the baby gloves, the real white glove treatment on these players for safety, and also a little CYA, cover your ass when it comes to any lawsuits and concussion things and everything like that. And you can't say you can blame them, but man, every single game counts in the regular season. Just one can skew your whole season. And for a Steelers team that has been on the wrong side of things lately, on a losing streak, you got to hope you could have all hands on deck, and it doesn't look that way. Minkah Fitzpatrick ruled out of this game, as well as Pat Freiermuth on the offensive side of the ball. Montravius Adams looked like he could be a go. Mason Cole said before practice that he's a go. And Zach Gentry, yet another tight end who's going to be seeing a lot of time since Freiermuth is on the shelf. He was also a little limited earlier in the week, didn't practice on Wednesday with a knee, so got to hope. Again, the Steelers are going to be three deep at some positions here. Larry Ogunjobi, also a DNP, but got a full practice in with the back injury Friday, but he was out the two previous days. Looks like he's going to be a go, but DeMarvin Leal now shows up on this injury report, and he's been playing outside linebacker and helping because Malik Reed really hasn't held up his end of the bargain, so to speak, and he's kind of being pulled in two directions to spell Alex Highsmith some, and there's like no other depth that the Steelers have at outside linebacker with TJ Watt being out. I know everybody wants like superstars, this, that, and the other thing at every position. It just doesn't work that way. If you take a look on the other side, it looks like Tampa Bay is returning a little more to health versus what we originally indicated in the pregame show. So Cameron Brate is more than likely going to be back from concussion. Jalen Darden is going to be there. Carlton Davis looks like he's going to play. Mike Edwards is questionable. That's one of their free safeties. Russell Gage, a third wide receiver, went from DNP to limited to full practice participant, so he should be available. Chris Godwin, never know with this guy, but he was a full participant. Akeem Hicks is out. This might help the Steelers a little bit, along with Sean Murphy-Bunting, who is more of a nickel or slot corner. So in the middle of those names on the injury report is Julio Jones. Didn't expect him to be available. He hasn't practiced all week. Carl Nassib's been a full participant as of recent, as has Brashad Perryman, another wide receiver. Logan Ryan is out. He's a reserve safety. Donovan Smith, a tackle on the offensive side of the ball, full participant after being limited. William Golston went from rest to DNP to a full practice, so his participation looks good for this game. That doesn't look good for the Steelers, right? Levante David, I'll say the same. He had gotten some rest, as did Mike Evans, and both of them did not practice, though, on Friday. They haven't practiced like all week, so But maybe that's just more precautionary. Maybe they feel Todd Bowles and company feels that they might not need to practice and they might be it might be available for Sunday's game. But wow, I mean, the Steelers are just ravaged in every way possible. They're going to be hosting yet another home game. They're at 1-4 against the 3-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who've had their own struggles, but wow, I mean, most of the defense is going to be manned by backups and backups of backups. And of course, that never really looks that good. As we drill through some of the numbers that we had mentioned before, Tampa is 19th in points scored per game, and the Steelers on offense are 30th. Tampa is 19th. Points allowed defensively, Tampa is 6th, Steelers are 25th, and just those disparities on offense, it's 20.6 to 15.4, and points allowed is 16.6 to 25.6. A lot of that skewed by last week's Buffalo game. These numbers might be a little bit closer. Offensively, pass yards, the Steelers are 23rd with 207, while Tampa is 3rd with 271. As far as their rushing game, Tampa is 31st in the league, averaging 66 yards per game. That's just shy of the Steelers at 29th with 88. They really haven't been able to get a whole lot done on the ground. Defensively, they're 6th against the pass and 18th against the run. The Steelers are 30th against the pass and 23rd against the run. And it's tough to say that you're going to anticipate anything that's much different over the course of running through some of these stats. I would love to tell you everything about Tom Brady, this, that, and the other thing. I mean, he passed for 351 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions last week. He's only had one interception on the season. That was in the first week of the year. And I mean, he's just the GOAT. He's got 56 career games with 350 plus pass yards, second most all time. And he's looking for his third game in a row now this season with over 350. I mean, and he may get it. Just the Steelers, they're just a ragtag group at this point. It's really even difficult to mention to all of you folks that are listening just how the impact of these injuries. And Tom Brady, if he has all day to throw, and he probably will, is probably going to lick his chops and carve up the Steelers defense with the likes of like Mike Evans. If Godwin's even healthy, it doesn't matter. Cameron Brate's another dude you got to watch out for that's certainly capable. Godwin had 6 catches in week 5. He has 6+ catches in 5 of his past 6. And let's see here. I got some, back to Tom Brady. I was going to show you still of Godwin there, but I missed it. Anyways, Evans had 81 receiving yards last week. He has 6 catches and 137 yards in a receiving TD in their last meeting. And last meeting, it's kind of hard to say because they haven't met since 2018, where the Steelers won 30-27. And the last game that was at Pittsburgh was back in 2014, where the Buccaneers won 27-24. The Steelers have won 5 of the last 6 and lead this series 9-2. Just to give you kind of an idea, coach versus opponent, Todd Bowles is 0-1 against Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is, or I should say Todd Bowles is 0-1 against the Steelers. Obviously, he had that stint with the New York Jets. Mike Tomlin is 2-1 against Tampa. They just haven't really met a whole lot, even going all the way back to, you'd think about how many times Mike Tomlin is referenced as being part of Tony Dungy's staff and a defensive backs coach with the Buccaneers, and sort of like always kind of like a homecoming thing, but very few encounters between these two teams. So the historical numbers really don't amount much to a hill of beans between these two. Todd Bowles, of course, in his first year taking over for Bruce Arians. Overall, though, he's 29-43 in 5 years as a head coach in the National Football League. So this game, again, Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern time kickoff. This one will be on Fox. So let's take a look. Let's pull up the map and see how many of you are going to get this. The national coverage, they did move the broadcast team. This was the A game originally, and this got moved around. I do believe now it will be covered by Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson on Fox. If you're in Pittsburgh area, that's channel 53 WPGH. You're going to have to look around if you're in any of these other areas. Pretty much anything outside of the extreme northeast Ohio of Cleveland, Akron, throughout Ohio, and of course down into Cincinnati, West Virginia, the usual spots, Kentucky, parts of Virginia, and most of Pennsylvania outside of Philadelphia area. You're going to get this game. There's some spots, of course, down into Florida. If you're in Tampa and Orlando, as I know a lot of you are, you're going to catch this game, and then an odd spot over in the Texas area. So take a look on your local television listings or check out steelcityunderground.com. We will have this all published tomorrow, this plethora of information. Of course, Steelers radio can be caught on Sirius 85, XM 225, or on the internet on 826 if you have Sirius XM. And they have the Bucs calls as well on 133, 383, or 829. It is also broadcast nationally with Steve Levy and Mike Tannenbaum on ESPN Radio. Your referee will be Sean Smith. Don't have a whole lot to say one way or the other about Sean Smith this year. I don't think I've witnessed anything terrible from him. But then again, he may have been involved in one of these fiascos as of late. But you never know. I hadn't done too much homework on Sean Smith. He just hasn't popped off the radar to me. And let's see. Of course, the Buccaneers are coming in having won 21-15 on what might have been a questionable quarterback hit with Tom Brady. So if they do get to Tom Brady at all, then the flags might just be flying. It does look like an uphill battle for the Steelers offense that hasn't been putting up yards, and a defense that's putting up too many. And the Steelers just got to get right on the right side of health. This is their last home game before they go on 2 road trips before a bye week. So they still have, after the Buccaneers, they have 2 teams that have done well so far this season with the Miami Dolphins and Philadelphia Eagles, who are unbeaten. Alex Highsmith still leads the Steelers with 5.5 sacks. Devin White has 3 and is the leader for Tampa Bay. And also on Tampa Bay, Jamel Dean has 2 interceptions. Minkah Fitzpatrick has 3. Tampa's defense, like I said, only giving up 16.6 yards, 16.6 points and 309 yards. They have had an interesting kind of slate of opponents thus far through their 2022 season. They have faced the Dallas Cowboys in week 1, 19-3 win, 20-10 win over the New Orleans Saints. They dropped 2 in a row. Of course, these are 2 quality football programs when you're talking about the Green Bay Packers and Kansas City Chiefs, a 12-14 loss and then a 31-41 shootout. And they got back on the right into the winning side of the column. They were at 2-2, but went to 3-2 with the 21-15 win over the Atlanta Falcons. That game was played at home in Tampa, so maybe the travel might be the only thing, but they were a lot more banged up last week than they are this week. It's going to be kind of tough. We're going to see if Kenny Pickett can continue on his upward trend in the National Football League. Pickett threw for 34 of 52 attempts last week. That was good for 327 yards. First career start, of course. That's the most pass yards and completions in a single game ever by a Pittsburgh rookie. He could become the 4th rookie quarterback ever with 300 plus pass yards in each of first 2 career starts, should he do it against Tampa. Najee Harris, 369 yards from scrimmage, 123 average per game to date. He's looking... He might be looking better. I know a lot of people have been on his case. He's reportedly had a metal stent or plate that he's been wearing. I'm not sure exactly how this worked, but we've been talking about injuries with his foot, and it looks like we got kind of more of a finite answer to this. And I'm trying to see. Let's see. We got the tweet up right here. This is from Brian Bacco, who covers the Pittsburgh Steelers for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And Brian reports here, just to get this direct quote, Steelers running back Najee Harris said he'd been playing with a stilt plate in that shoe after his Liz Frank injury, and he just took it out a couple of days ago. So there you go. I've never had an injury like that. I've had ankle injuries and stuff like that. I've had orthotics, so I can't tell you how much that affects you. But, guys with turf toe don't even play sometimes. We'll see if this helps Najee get back on track, and we'll see if it's play calling. We'll see if it's offensive line. But, boy, the offense has got to carry the defense in this game. It'll be interesting to see how this one's going to play out. George Pickens is looking for his 3rd game in a row with 6+ catches and 80+ yards and I'm not sure. Will he have the opportunity to be able to do that? It's kind of tough to say. Just everything. I'm just going to try and stop speculating here and make matters worse. But Chase Claypool, he had season highs last year, 5 catches, 50 yards. I know it's only 10 per catch, but a player that we've been down on quite a bit as far as regressing. Maybe this will help get him back into the fold. And for most of the other players that show up in the game capsule here, Jalen Warren had a season high of 63 scrimmage yards, 39, and then 24 rushing last week. But everyone else that shows up on here, Pat Freiermuth, Minka, Levi Wallace, they're all out. That's kind of just a shame for this high-profile meeting. Leonard Fournette had a career-high 10 catches, and a season-high 139 yards from scrimmage with 2 touchdowns in Week 5. It's his 9th career 2+ TD game. He has 444 scrimmage yards. That's 148 per game with Tampa this season. He has... or I should say in career games against Pittsburgh. I hate these career games things. Some of that, if you remember, goes back to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he's looking for his 6th game in a row on the road with 70+ scrimmage yards. Mike Evans had 81 yards receiving last week. Chris Godwin, again, 6 catches in Week 5. I mentioned this before. Levante David, 9 tackles, 3 for loss. Shaq Barrett looks for a 4th in a row with a tackle for a loss on the road. So nothing else really too exciting to report here as far as statistics and breakdown between the two teams. Again, short form episode here. Steelers are just absolutely, they're ravaged. They're pretty much miserable, if I were to say so. And they kind of need all the help they could get. They might need some luck to fall in their direction. We just saw how Josh Allen was able to tear up and just get around the Steelers defensively, and got to hope maybe Cam Hayward could do something. Tampa doesn't, of course, have the strongest offensive line. So I didn't really give my biggest keys to the game in the pregame show. I just kind of felt that this wasn't a game that the Steelers could absolutely outright take, particularly since we didn't know the injury report, and that doesn't make me feel any more comfortable generally when somebody's filling in. But when you got to fill in for TJ Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick, I don't feel as comfortable as I don't think a whole lot of you will. But I'll still be watching. I'll still be in attendance. Still hoping some of these dudes can get after Tom Brady, make things a little more uncomfortable for him than they did for Josh Allen. But again, you might be sitting ducks if you let Tom Brady take all day and do what he can do in that game against the Falcons last week. And I know, like, maybe the Steelers just don't even have it as well together as even the Falcons. But the Falcons were able to get a punt and a turnover on downs out of Tampa to start, and then it was 4 straight scoring drives, touchdown, 2 field goals, and a touchdown before they forced 3 punts. And Tom Brady and company were able to squelch out about 4 minutes and 38 seconds at the end of that game. Steelers have had a problem getting off the field on 3rd down. So, folks, check out the pregame episode that aired previously. Steelers were a +8 in this particular game. Going to see what the over/under is, or what it's currently listed at, if you want to get an idea. Oh, it's jumped to 9.5, and as it probably should when you're talking about some of the injuries that have started to pile up on the Steelers side of the football. You're going to be looking at a heavy dose. Like I said, Josh Jackson, he's going to have the game of his life. The over/under here is 46. Do we think the Steelers offense can put up 20 points against Tampa? It doesn't look very good even in that regard, but hey, stranger things have happened. And any given Sunday is a mantra. This team is a team that needs to get back on track. We kind of felt this is where they might be. Let's see if they can control time of possession on the offensive side of the ball and minimize as much as possible defensively. If they could limit Tampa to just field goal attempts, they may have a shot. But if it's just a field day, not field goals, where the Bucs are out there and scoring touchdown after touchdown, it might be a long day in the office. So, folks, my name's Joe Kuzma. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe here to the Steel City Underground podcast. Check out our other weekly programming, pregame and postgame coverage. And Terry will be back from vacation next week with your WTF weekly What the Football episode as well. I think, where was she at this week? I don't know. Something in my brain says Hawaii, probably. So better off for her, right? But she'll be back with that. So until next time. as we always say as we close out this show, thank you for listening or watching wherever you may be, and we encourage all of our listeners and watchers and viewers out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.